to the SOULFIRE podcast, where healing is raw, truth is sacred, and your story gets to burn and rebuild in the same breath. I'm Power Coach Alishia, pattern breaker, soul mirror, fire starter, and the unapologetic voice of the burn it down and rise anyways revolution. We don't fluff your wounds, we don't filter your truth, and we don't water down healing so that people stay comfortable. You've spent way too damn long proving your worth to people who only love the version of you that stayed small, quiet, and convenient. If you've ever swallowed your truth to keep the peace, shrunk yourself to stay chosen, or disappeared in your life, this season isn't just a reset or another motivational podcast. This is where you reclaim your voice, your fire, and your fucking self. I'll give you the truth that heals, frameworks that hold, and soul codes that will change how you live, lead, love, and rise. Lovey, come forward. It's time for you to embody your wholeness. And I'm not only leading this season, I'm living it right beside you. Let's fucking go. So the other day I had these random downloads that were coming through. Well, nothing is actually random, but I had these downloads coming through. And so I recorded 2 different videos that I have stripped the audios from. And that's what this podcast episode is going to be, because it is so freaking cool. So this podcast episode is all about containers, and there's 2 different parts to containers, and maybe one day I'll come back and do a part 3, but this is one of the ones you're going to want to star, save, share, take notes on, because these downloads were so cool, and I explain it in a way that's going to make so much sense to you and to help to you protect your energy even more. Hello, beautiful. I was just thinking about something that I do that I've just started doing, and it's this like automatic response as I feel into my energy. And I thought that I would share it with you because I think it will be helpful for you to protect your energy during conversations, during discussions, and also in different locations with different people. And so what it is a container. Okay, so I want you to think of every conversation that you go into, especially with your significant other, as a container, okay? But even your children, even your mother, your parents, friends, whatever. So, or interaction or environment. Think of all of it like a container, all right? And you're in this container having a conversation, you're at a party, you're whatevering, right? And be very mindful of how your soul feels. Like, be very mindful of when your soul says, this container is complete for me. This conversation is complete for me. This discussion is complete for me. Sharing my feelings is complete for me. Hearing their perspective is complete for me. Understanding where they're coming from is complete for me. See, normally we have this tied to a result. So we're like, okay, when they commit to something, when they apologize, when they fill in the blank, then that's what I need. That's what I want. Now I'm complete, or that, or when they have committed to fixing something or something along those lines. And these are usually like automatic responses to when you feel better. What I'm encouraging you to do is to look and feel into this from a different perspective of, what does my soul say? So in containers, I am in conversation, I'm sharing my feelings, they're sharing their feelings, perspectives, we're interacting, we're discussing. And then in the past, I would allow those containers to go on too long, to have access to my energy, my time, my attention to be too long. And if it's with your significant other, what can end up happening, or even with someone who you're emotionally charged with, is that conversation and that container can end up collapsing because you go into cyclic destruction, of what I call it, in loops of insanity, right? And those start coming into the conversation, those start coming to the table. And then before you know it, you're cycling, you're looping, you're all over the place, you're repeating things you don't want to repeat. You are destroying them, you're destroying you. And it doesn't mean that you're doing any of this intentionally, right? We're not talking about being vindictive. We're talking about not paying attention to our nervous system, our rhythm, and our energy, right? Everything that I'm about, everything that I talk about, everything I share with you, everything I teach with you teach to you. That's what we're talking about. And so when you look at and you feel, when you look at conversations from a perspective of, I'm closing this container when my soul calls that forward, do that. And you know what I say? When the conversation gets to a point where they have shared and I have shared, I say, I feel like this conversation, this container is what I'm rephrasing it to now. This container has gotten to a point for me that I am ready to close it, and it is complete as it stands right now. I've shared what I've needed to share. I've heard your perspective. I have received, what you have to say. And I just feel like we're at a space in this container that is in peace, love, and protection of this relationship. And so is there anything else that you feel that you want to or need to share before we close this container? Then they will say yes and then share, or no and then be done. And I say, I'm complete as well. So this container is closed for me. Give them a hug and allow that to be. My past personality is just like, got to stay in it, got to stay in it, got to stay in it till they make me feel better. Got to stay in it until they commit to fixing it. Got to stay in it until that commitment is something that I accept. Got to stay in it until, got to stay in it until, got to stay in it until. And that's where the cyclic destruction and the loops of insanity come in. That's where your nervous system collapses and rapid fires and your energy is completely drained and you have no rhythm. So when you start paying attention to, okay, they've said, I've said, this container is closed for me at this stage, at this point right now. And now I'm just going to allow that conversation and what we had just shared with each other to assimilate and see if there's anything else that comes up for me. For me, there's another step that you can take if you really want to dive into it, but from an introspective perspective and where you can really connect with yourself. And that is doing, an exercise after conflict. I call it completeness after conflict, or it could be a completeness after a disagreement, but I'm probably going to change it to after container completion, because it's not necessarily doesn't need to be a conflict. It can just be a discussion or, something like that. But it definitely can be very powerful to do some after work on that conversation and dive in introspectively in your feelings and, think about like, how am I feeling? There's like some questions that you ask. There is a meditation that you do. Then you go into the powerful positive side and then you just turn it over to the universe and allow it to assimilate, or you surrender it. Or if there's some things that you uncovered inside of your container that you created for yourself when you deep dove into that, then you can open a new container with the person to discuss some things that have come up for you, some alternate perspectives and things like that. And it can really promote much deeper connection. If you hear what I'm saying though, it protects your rhythm, it protects your energy, it protects your nervous system, it protects their rhythm, energy, and nervous system. It protects the relational energy, rhythm, and nervous system. It helps you deepen your relationship with yourself, understand yourself better, helps you create practices to check in with yourself and hear your inner voice and your higher self leading you. And it also gives you that personal power to find out, like, is there more that needs to be heard? Is there more that I want to say? Is there a different perspective that I want to share? And so it also invites different connection, with them and an alternate perspective and another layer of conversation that can happen in that container or in a new container, right? I mean, basically you're opening and closing, containers within containers of your relationship and within yourself. But it's all part of your full relational container with that person. So you have the main container that is holding that relationship, and then you have the smaller containers inside that big container. And that big container is where peace, love, protection, safe space, understanding, connection, value, honor, and respect are being held in that outer container, so that these conversations, connections, experiences, these sacred moments can be happening inside of the bigger container that the relationship is held in. And then you have your own container for yourself. That's the same thing. Peace, love, protection, safe space, understanding, connection, value, honor, respect of yourself, right? And so you have that container as well. And then they have their container, and each of them overlap, right? And they impact each other. And so this is just another powerful way to be able to have very meaningful conversations and discussions about things that are important, feelings, emotions, perspectives, and being able to protect the greater good of everyone involved. So I want to know from you, how did this land on your soul? Please comment below. I was just getting ready to do some deeper work and journaling work with myself, and I thought, I need to have a conversation about containers and what I just did to close a container in a light energy. Rephrase. Close a container in a gray energy, right? It wasn't a light container, but it wasn't a dark container. So I'm calling that a gray container. And you will have gray conversations with gray. You will have gray energied conversations. And it's not that everything needs to be light and bright and beautiful and all love and all light. However, you can control it going to the darkness by paying attention to when that container is complete and when you have enough information from both sides to now surrender and then go into your introspective, like, container completeness work, and then see, is there anything that you want to go to them with from a different perspective, or what came up, or are you remaining that in surrender, or is there actually, work that came up for you in your container completeness work that now you're going to implement. So you're going to learn more about this in my rhythm program, in my couples program, signature program, Naked Truth. So you're going to learn about that. One thing that I want to mention before I exit here is the monthly Rhythm Drop membership and my signature rhythm program are two different things. So I just want to make that clear. So any of you guys that are in the monthly Rhythm Drop, that is just like a very, very, very baseline way to get some support, plus being in this temple, right? There's so much power and energy and beauty inside of this temple. However, the monthly Rhythm Drop membership is just a very, very, very small baseline, like a little snack for your soul every single month, where the rhythm signature program is the embodiment, the understanding, and the transformation of your soul rhythm, your nervous system regulation, and your energetic mapping and blueprint, and how you show up in the world. So just keep in mind that those are the difference between the two. So if you're in the monthly Rhythm Drop membership, it's just a very small piece of what I'm talking about here. And we usually don't go into rhythm there. I keep that pretty centered around a monthly theme, and then just like how you can work with the moon around that theme. And then we just call it good, right? So anyways, how did this land in your soul, learning about the different containers and closing them in peace, love, and protection of yourself and that relationship? I want to know, so drop it below. So here's part 2 of this. And it's very interesting that these are happening on the same day. I don't even have this planned. So it's really nuts that it's coming forward. And I'm like, oh, well, better record part 2. So there's how to close a container that we talked about and, protect the energy and all those things that we talked about in part 1. But what happens if you have a relationship where, you are holding the majority of the container, 70, 80, 99% of the container. And when you start finding your rhythm and syncing your energy and regulating your nervous system, you stop holding the part of the container that is theirs to hold. Okay. What happens when you stop holding their side of the container and it slams to the ground? Like, you've got yours held, it slams to the ground. Think of it like, those long totes that you can buy at Walmart, right? They're rectangle, and when you fill them, they're heavy as fuck. Like, one person can't lift it. Like, you can slide it everywhere, but it takes 2 people to lift it, because it's just asinine to have such a big tote like that. Because when it is full, it is so fucking heavy, right? So think of it like you're holding this one side of the tote and you have it about hip height, and you're holding that now, right? Because you clearly can't carry the whole thing by yourself. It's too heavy. Now, think of that big, huge tote full of that relationship, life, everything that's happened, everything you've gone through, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the hard times, the great times, the pain, the traumas, the demons, the burdens, the brilliance, the light. Think of that tote holding all of that. And you thought in your mind you were holding 70 to 99% of this container, of this relationship. But we both just had a conversation about the fact that it would be too heavy for one person to hold, right? So you were thinking you were holding all of this weight. You were thinking you were carrying all of this weight. You were thinking you were shouldering all of the pains, the burdens, the demons, the weight, the good, the bad. You were thinking that you were carrying the weight of the whole relationship. And energetically, you were, because physically you just can't. And generally your body will show you when you hit a physical point that it can no longer actually carry the energetic weight of it. So back to this gigantic tote and the metaphor of it being the container of life. Listen, Queen, if this episode lights something up, don't just sit with it. Come rise with us. The SOULFIRE podcast is your weekly reminder that healing isn't about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who the fuck you've always been. And if you're craving more than just words, if you want community, authentic power, momentum, and soul transformation, then I want you to come join us in the free star-guided soul healing community. This isn't another group. It's a vortex of women who are done pretending, who are reclaiming their power, their voice, and their divine assignment, and who know they were never meant to do this alone. Inside, we speak truth. We rise with soul-coded frameworks like Rise Times 3 and AUA, plus your own soul-coded values. We break patterns, we burn illusions, and we build empires because we rise. So come be witnessed, come be held, come be at home. Check out the link in the show notes. And please remember to subscribe, share, and send this podcast to a queen who's ready to rise. Now, back to the fire. Well, when you consciously realize that it's too heavy for you to hold the whole thing and you hold on to your side, what happens is the other side slams to the ground, right? And if you've ever been carrying any sort of weight like that with another person, one person will generally be carrying and holding more of the weight than the other person. Whoever is physically stronger will generally be holding more of the weight. That's just how it goes. So let's say you're the one that, like, you're there and they're showing up. And when they do show up, they carry, hold a lot of the weight. But when they don't, then it drops. Have you ever been literally carrying a tote and have it fall out of someone else's hands and felt what it feels like in your body when it slams to the ground? It kills your hands. It'll usually hurt your leg. It'll skim your shin, or it falls out of your hand and you drop it and you get hurt. Okay? Now think of this tote like the container of your relationship with everything in it. When you stop attempting to hold the whole thing and you're holding your side and they're picking up and dropping and picking up and dropping and picking up and dropping their side, or they're just letting it sit there and kind of like, oh, there's a handle on it, right? Oh, if you just picked it up a little bit lower, it'd be easier, right? You got to bend with your knees, right? Not your back. Giving you all of this advice, right? Think about your relationship container. If they're barely doing that, they're barely acknowledging the handle, they're half-assly holding it and then not realizing that they are, or they know they're holding it, but they're not realizing they're dropping it. Look at how much pain, look at how much hurt, look at how much it's costing you. And I'm not saying for this that you need to let go of your side. What I am saying, though, is make sure that you are never carrying more weight in the container of your relationship or relationships that they are carrying. And make sure you never, ever, make sure that your boundary is so strong around them laying that burden on you. Because when you're someone like me who has gone through life carrying the weight of the relationships, collapsing underneath the weight of relationships, and you decide to stop holding, the people want to look at you like you're wrong, like you did something wrong, like you let them down, like you're not doing what you need to. Come to you and they might say something like, what did I do? Why are you mad at me? Or they'll come to you and they'll say something about being mad at you for something you didn't do that they expected you to do, huge expectations, right? Don't you dare pick up the rest of that container and the rest of that weight again, believing that that is the answer. Hold the boundary that you have yours to hold and they have theirs to hold. And if they're not going to hold theirs with their own internal strength and what they have, or if they're unable to hold theirs at the capacity and the strength of what they have, you've got to decide. Are you cool with holding your side when and if they show up? And if they don't, that's cool. Are you cool with setting it down and going, you know what? I've been holding my side for a long time and they never really show up. And when they do, it's half-assed. And when they do, I get hurt. And when they do, it's sacrifice of me. So I'm going to set this down. I'm not walking away, but I'm going to set this down. And when I see them consistently showing up and holding their side, then I'll pick mine back up. Or if I see that they do show up, I'll meet them where they're at and I will show up too. And I'll show up in my full self energy capacity that I have to give that matches their energy capacity and what they are giving. Because the next layer of this container talk is that it's extremely important that you are both ebbing and flowing into the pouring into of the container of the relationship. And if your nervous system, your rhythm, your energy is not regulated, you won't have it to pour into the relationship. And if you keep attempting to pour it into it, you'll collapse under the weight. It will overtake you. It'll fall on your foot. You'll break your ankle. Right? You'll be struggling to now hold yourself at any level because you were holding too much of what wasn't yours to hold. And I want to know, how did this land in your soul? Because probably is going to be a part 3 to this. I don't know if it'll be today, but there probably will be a part 3 of this where the pouring into the container. But what I want to tell you right now is, if you're constantly pouring into the container of the relationship at the high level, 70 to 90%. So we talked about you carrying it, right, at 70 to 99%. But now we're talking about you pouring into it at 70 to 99%. And you're not getting back and no one's holding the weight and you're letting the conversations go to destruction and insanity loops. No one fucking wins. And I don't mean like you win and they lose. I mean, there's no room for a win-win or a win-win-win. Everyone loses. And the only way this changes is if you stop holding what's not yours. Is when you close the container, when there's enough information, when your energy and your soul says, okay, now's the time. And you stop pouring into when you realize that you're the one that puts it all in there. You're the one that gives it all. You're the one that does it all at a 70 to 99% level. Then you don't have a relationship with someone else. You have a relationship with yourself. And why carry the weight and the effort at a 70 to 99% rate the majority of the time for a connection with someone that is basically non-existent because you're doing both sides of the work? How did that land in your soul? What came up for you when I shared that? I'm always teaching from real life experiences, and the guidance from my angels and my downloads and my lessons. So you'll always find that. And this lesson came from a thought process of me wanting to pour when I haven't been getting shit back. Every time I pour, I get very minimal back. Every time I show up for them, I get like, they don't even respond to my messages about them. And I get it. Not everyone has capacity. There's, shit goes on and people have things going on in their life. It's not about not understanding that. It's about asking yourself, do you want to pour into empty containers for the rest of your life and make excuses for people who don't have the capacity to hold you? Or do you want to reclaim your power, your rhythm, your energy, your nervous system, and then build a tribe that is already built to hold you? How did this land in your soul? And if no one's told you today, you are worth it. You are always worth it. Embody this. Choose yourself so completely that nobody gets to question your worth again. Extend to your soul the same mercy you once gave away to people who fucking dropped it. And stop shrinking to be chosen by people who can't even hold you. You're not a placeholder. You're the fucking revolution. So show up, speak up, and burn the damn box. I'm Power Coach Alishia, and this is your invitation to rise.